Welcome to States of Heart. Today's story is about courage that sees beyond sight, about a woman who proved that vision isn't just with the eyes, but with willpower. The crowd gathered at the Navy's Special Operations Training Facility. The obstacle course stretched across the dusty field like a monster waiting to break whoever dared to challenge it. Ropes, mud pits, razor wire, climbing walls. It was a brutal test of agility, strength, and focus. Lieutenant Marcus N. The instructor stood with his arms crossed, his tone carrying a mix of pride and arrogance. This, he announced to the recruits, is the toughest course in the division. No one, I repeat, no one has ever beaten it in one try. His words echoed across the training ground. If you do, I'll personally salute you. The recruits laughed nervously. Most had already failed attempts in previous sessions, but one voice from the back rose, calm, steady, female. Challenge accepted, sir. Instructor turned. Standing there was Sergeant Alina Reyes, a quiet, lean woman with sharp eyes and a face that carried the kind of stillness you see before a storm. She wasn't tall or bulky like the others, but there was something in her stance, an unshakable calm. In smirked. Reyes, this isn't a fun run. It's designed to break the best. You really think you can beat it? She simply nodded. I don't think, sir. I know. The others chuckled, whispering about how she wouldn't last 5 minutes. Anne gave a dismissive shrug. All right, Reyes, let's see what you've got. You get one try. Don't embarrass yourself. The whistle blew. Alina exploded into motion. The first segment, the mud crawl, was designed to test endurance. She dove forward, sliding under barbed wire, her body low and efficient. Mud splashed across her uniform, but her movements were perfect, smooth, controlled. Like she'd memorized the terrain. By the time others were halfway through the first section, she was already scaling the 12-foot wall. She leaped, caught the ledge, and swung her leg over with the grace of a gymnast. The instructor's expression shifted from arrogance to faint surprise. Not bad, Reyes, he muttered. Watching through his binoculars, then came the rope traverse over water, the point where most recruits fell. The rope swayed in the wind, slick with humidity. Alina gripped it, moved hand over hand without hesitation, her legs locked tight around the line. She didn't look down once. The spectators gasped as she landed cleanly on the far platform. The instructor's jaw tightened. Who trained her? Someone whispered. She trained herself, said another recruit quietly. Heard she lost her sight for a few years after an explosion overseas. Had to relearn everything. The instructor froze. She was blind? The story was true. Alina Reyes had been an intelligence operator in Afghanistan when a roadside blast left her temporarily blind for 8 months. Instead of quitting, she trained blindfolded every day, relying on her hearing, balance, and instinct. When her sight partially returned, her perception became sharper than ever. Now, on that course, she was using those same instincts, moving like she could feel the course breathing around her. At the final stretch, the balance beams loomed, narrow planks above a pool of freezing water. Wind howled through the range. She paused, reached into her pocket, and pulled out a strip of black cloth. The instructor frowned. What the hell is she doing? Alina tied the blindfold around her eyes. Gasps erupted. Is she insane? One recruit whispered. N shouted through the megaphone. Reyes, take that off. You'll kill yourself. She didn't respond. Instead, she took her first step blindfolded across the beam. Her boots pressed lightly against the wood. The beam quivered under her weight, but her body adjusted instantly. Every movement was balanced, deliberate. Calm. The instructor's words from earlier echoed back at him. No one can beat this course. And here she was. Defying that, not just completing it, but doing it without sight. Step after step. She crossed the first beam. Then the second. The crowd fell silent, holding its collective breath. Even the wind seemed to stop. Halfway through, a loud metallic clang broke the silence. One of the nearby recruits had dropped a weapon during drills. The sound was sharp, disorienting. but Alina didn't flinch. She used the echo to gauge her position, shifted her weight, and kept walking. Finally, with one last leap, she landed on solid ground. Her boots hit the dirt, and she pulled off the blindfold. The finish bell rang. Time: 10 minutes, 42 seconds. The course record to 11 minutes, 5 seconds. She'd done it. Blindfolded. For a moment, nobody spoke. The instructor just stared, speechless. Then he walked toward her, slow and measured, his voice quieter than anyone had ever heard it. Sergeant Reyes. He stopped a few feet away, his pride gone. You just did what no one ever has. How? She smiled faintly. You said no one could beat the course? You never said I had to see it to finish it. The recruits erupted into applause. The same people who'd mocked her now stood in awe. And hesitated, then keeping his promise, raised his hand in salute. Respect, Sergeant. You've got more guts than the rest of us combined. She returned the salute, eyes calm. With all due respect, sir, sometimes the hardest battles are the ones no one can see. That day, Alina Reyes became a legend in the training division. Not for her strength, not even for her speed, but for showing what true discipline looked like. After that, the instructor changed the way he spoke to every recruit. The arrogance disappeared. The course remained the same, but beside the start line. A single line was painted in bold white letters. Vision isn't seeing, it's believing. Weeks later, a new batch of recruits arrived. They stopped at that line, reading the quote curiously. One of them asked, "Who said that?" The instructor smiled faintly, looking toward the horizon. Sergeant Reyes, the one who finished it blindfolded, and though she'd moved on to other missions. Her name became a reminder across bases and units that the strongest warriors aren't always the loudest or the biggest. Sometimes, they're the ones who fight quietly, guided not by sight, but by faith. Because when the world says you can't, the only voice that matters is the one inside that whispers, "Watch me."